maintaining it in the management database. Okay with that? Can follow? Yeah. So in Solid Server, you have a lot of other functionality, right? You will be able to use Solid Server for DNS Guardian. You will be able to use Solid Server for NetChain, right? And the list of functionality, isn't it? Yeah. So, and also we have covered the web UI. So one of the strength, right? One of the strength for Solid Server is basically their web interface. So the management web interface is very intuitive and also have a lot of information, right? Just that you have to be familiar with the UI in order to move about. Okay, so that you don't have to do unnecessary steps. Also, for you to easily and quickly move about in the web UI, you just have to spend a bit of time to get familiar with it, right? Yeah. Now, of course, using Solid Server, you can have centralized management. So you can have centralized management of the DNS DHCP server, and also you can have centralized management of the server administration, right? So you can have a centralized management server to manage the remote Solid Server. Okay, configure the IP address remotely, configure the services remotely, isn't it? Right? Perform the upgrade remotely. See that? System administration, right? Remotely. Perform the reboot, shutdown, backup, restore remotely, so that you can manage the system remotely from the management server, right? And yesterday we have covered IPAM. IPAM, as you know, is actually the IP inventory. So in IPAM, if you are using IPAM in a Solid Server, you have to know that the objects are organized in a hierarchical structure. So for you to actually use IPAM inventory, okay, you will need to know the hierarchical model. So to use IPAM, you have to create a space, right? Normally the space define the geographical location or define the different business unit network, isn't it? Yeah. Then in the space, you're going to create the network block. So the block of IP address or the block of network. And then within the block, you're going to create subnet. Within the subnet, you will be able to have the IP address of the subnet and where you can assign the IP address to the host. So that you will be able to track which are the IP in use, which are the IP free available. Isn't it? Right? Yeah. So those are the things that we have talked about yesterday for IPAM. Is it okay? Right? And also, you will be able to have subnet, subnetting. Isn't it? So you can have subnet within subnet. Fine. Okay. Now, and yesterday we actually talked about the smart architecture. Okay. Yeah. So we're going to talk more about the smart architecture today. Is it okay? Right? Yeah. So we also cover the smart architecture. The smart architecture are the predefined architecture in Solid Server. Are the predefined architecture in Solid Server for DNS and DHCP. So if you're going to use Solid Server to manage multiple DNS and DHCP server, right, it's recommended you use the smart architecture. Okay, right? So today, we will want to actually cover the DNS administration, and then we will want to actually cover the integration, right? So we're going to see if we can go into the integration of IPAM and DNS. So anyway, today's topic will be about DNS and then IPAM and DNS. So let's see what you have in between the IPAM and DNS service. What are their what are their integration. Okay, so those are what we're going to do today. Fine. Okay, now yeah, so welcome everyone. Right, for those that I haven't greet, good morning, very good morning to you. Right. Do you have any question for me before I start?
No.
Okay, if not, I'm going to move on.
Hello.
Yes, yes.
I want to ask about the IPAM. The IPv6 can implementation on IPAM?
Yes, yes, you can.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. That's why when you go to the listing page, you have V4, V6 icon there. You can.
Okay, okay. Thank you. And the course today, the IPv6 can.
Oh, we are not covering the IPv6 IPAM. Yeah. Anyway, for the IPv6, it's actually more or less the same. Just that when you create the subnet block, you use IPv6. Okay. Yeah. So we won't be covering IPv6 here. Okay, Nisha.
Okay, okay. Thank you, thank you.
Now we're going to move on with DNS. Okay, so we're looking into part 1 DNS. Yeah, so this over here, we're going to see how you can manage DNS in Solid Server, right? And using the smart architecture. Fine. So yeah, so DNS server management. So this is to give you a basic understanding what is behind the screen, right? When you are managing the DNS server from the management server. Okay, right? So in this diagram, you can see here, you have three solid server. You have the centralized management server, right? Yeah. And you have the remote DNS server. So these DNS server are remotely managed on the management server. So on the management server, you have the management database, you have the IPAM, right? Okay. And if you look at the remote server, if you look at the remote DNS server, you are not using the management database. You are not using it. Okay. Yeah. The only thing you are using on the remote DNS server is the bind engine. That is the DNS engine. They provide the DNS service to the client. Right. So this is the bind engine. Solid Server use ISC bind version 9. Okay, right? That is actually the word what Solid Server have as a DNS engine, is a bind engine. So you can see the remote DNS server is actually only have the bind engine serving the DNS, right? Serving the DNS, providing the DNS service in the network. Are you clear? And you're going to manage it remotely from the management server. Are you clear with that? Can follow? Now, on the management server, you also have a bind engine because the management server is a solid server. So on the management server itself, you also have a bind engine. See? And you can configure it to serve the DNS. Right? But normally you won't use it because you use it as a management. You will not use the local bind engine. Is it okay? You can, but most of the time you won't. Isn't it? Right? Because you should have your remote DNS server providing the DNS service. Right? Okay? Yeah. So this is what you have. So now, for you to manage the remote DNS server from the management server, definitely you need to add the remote DNS server into the management server. So after you add the remote DNS server to the management server, you're going to use the web interface to manage the DNS server remotely from the management server. So whatever configuration you do on the DNS, right? Yeah, it will be stored in the management database on the management server, right? And then it will be pushed to the remote DNS server, right? So whatever configuration you do for DNS is maintained locally on the management server in the management database. And the server configuration, the zone configuration, the data configuration will be synchronized, will be pushed to the bind engine on the remote server. Updating the config file, updating the config file on the bind server, because in the bind, right, the configuration are stored in a config file. Named.conf, nameddaemon.conf, zone file. See, so these are the basic configuration file you have on the bind engine, named.conf and the zone file. Is it okay? So whatever changes in the management database will be pushed to the config file in the remote DNS server. Okay. Now also you can see from here. Now if you go to the local bind engine, if you go to the bind engine of the remote server and configure the config file, you go and modify the config file locally on the remote server. This information will also be synchronized back to the management database. You see, there is another direction, right? The synchronization from the remote DNS config file to the management database. The server config, the zone config, and the data. Is it okay? Right? So the synchronization is two-way, not one-way, two-way. Are you clear with that? Correct? Just that it's not recommended definitely for you to go to the local bind engine on the remote server to configure the bind. It's not recommended because the synchronization might take some time. See? So they will periodically go and synchronize from the remote to the management database. Oh, but whatever thing you configure from the management server, so any DNS configuration from the management server will be pushed down to the remote engine instantly, immediately. Okay, right? Yeah. So okay with this? So this is good that you understand this, right? So it helps also next time for your troubleshooting, right? Yeah. Okay, now typically you need to add the remote DNS server into the management server, right? So it's like you need to register them. You need to enroll them into the management server so that the management server will know which are the remote server to manage. Are you clear with that? Right? So that's why there is an enrollment process. Okay. Now here is just to highlight to you, in every DNS server, there is a service account. This is the service account in the DNS server that will be used to manage the DNS engine. Just like every server, right? They have their internal service account, and that service account will have the privileges to manage the service. So in order to manage the service, you will use the service, you will authenticate as a service account and use the service account to manage the service. So in every solid server DNS server, engine, they have one service account called service DNS for the DNS engine. Are you there? So this is the service account the management server will use to authenticate to the remote DNS server and manage the DNS engine. Is it okay? It's transparent. It's totally transparent to you. But over here, right, it's just to highlight to you there's a service account. Okay? Yeah. Okay, good. Now, in order for you to enroll enroll the DNS server to the management server, there are basically three components. You have a service account, as I mentioned. So all the remote DNS engine have a service account, and that is a service account that can be used for managing the DNS engine, right? You need to enroll the remote DNS server into the management server, right? For the first time connection, during the enrollment process, you need to authenticate to the remote server. From the management server, you need to authenticate to the remote server during the enrollment process using the SSH admin account. So you need the admin account password. Okay? Yeah. Anyway, we're going to look at the detailed diagram. So let's say now you are on the management server. You log into the web interface, okay, of the management server. And from the management server, you perform the enrollment process. You want to enroll the DNS. You want to enroll the remote DNS server. So when you add the DNS server from the management interface, right, you can see the management server will try to log into the remote DNS server using the admin account, which is the SSH admin. With the admin password, you need to provide the admin password. So it means that you need to know the admin password of the remote DNS server for the enrollment process. Are you clear with that? Can you follow? Yeah. So they will, the first time during the enrollment process, the first time, they're going to log in as an admin of the remote DNS server. So once the login is successful, they will automatically activate the service account and generate the password, random password. Okay, so this service account password is automatically generated. Right? So now the service account is ready for service and they have a proper password. Now the password will be sent back. You see, the password, the remote DNS server password, service account password will be sent back to the management data, will be sent back to the management server, and it will be stored in the management database. Right? Yeah. So once the management server have the service account password, right, in order to manage the DNS server remotely, they are going to authenticate now to the remote DNS server using the service account and the generated password. See? So now, from the management server, with this login credential, it will be able to manage the remote DNS server now. Okay, that? And all these things is automatic as long as you add DNS server. Okay, in the management server. Okay. Okay, good. Now, this is to show you the synchronization. Okay, so here is to show you the synchronization. Although it's transparent to you, but it's good that you know what happened. Okay, so now, once you have added the remote DNS server to the management server, so now you can go to the management server, okay? You can go and add a zone. See, you're going to add a zone to the remote DNS server from the management server. So when you're going to add the zone, okay, the zone will be added to the management database of the management server. See? Yeah. And this configuration in the management database will be instantly update to the remote DNS config file. Okay? Using port 443 web service. They use a web service, so it means that the management server will use the web service, right, to update the remote DNS server for the creation of the zone, right? And on the remote DNS server, the config file will be updated. So the name.config file will be updated, and then the zone information will be the name.conf file will be updated with the zone information.
Yeah.
Okay, and the zone file will be created. Yeah, and the zone file will be created. So that is what they do from a management server to the remote DNS server. So when you create a zone, they will push the zone to the remote DNS engine by updating the config file of the remote DNS engine. Name.conf, name-daemon.conf, and the zone file. Okay with that, right? Using port 443. So if you have a firewall between the management and the DNS server, if you do have a firewall, you have to allow port 443. Okay, right? Okay, now, so yeah, I think I never show completely. Yeah. So this is the name.conf, and then you will have the zone file. So the zone file will be created with two resource record. One is a SOA, one is the name server resource record when you create the zone. Okay, yeah. So now, here is to show you another example. After you create the zone in the management server, now you add a resource record. You're going to add a resource record into the zone. So when you add a resource record into the zone, ftp.un.org, right? So this resource record will be added to the management database. Okay, and after that, it will be immediately pushed to the remote DNS server using dynamic, basically using port 53. So this is actually the DNS traffic. See, so they use the DNS traffic to update the remote DNS server. Are you clear with that? Can follow? Yeah. Then of course, this will actually update the zone file. The zone file will be updated by the remote engine. Are you clear with this? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So that is how it works. Now, also here is to show you the synchronization is not one way. The synchronization is two way. So now, if you have resource record created on the zone file, so you can see there is a new resource record created on the zone file on the local DNS engine, on the local on the remote server DNS engine. You see that? Fine. So this new resource record is now in the zone file of the remote DNS engine. So this information will be periodically pulled, right, by the management server. Then this information will be transferred to the management database. See, so any changes on the local config file, any changes on the local config file of the remote DNS server, it will be periodically updated by the management server. So the management server will periodically go to the remote server, pour those updates, right, and synchronize the management database. And again, this is using zone transfer, DNS traffic, port 53. Okay, this by default is actually every 1 hour, by default. You can force the synchronization immediately. You can. So there's an operation you can choose to synchronize now manually. The periodical interval is every 1 hour. Okay. Fine. Now here is to show you how you can add DNS server. Right? How you enroll. So for you to enroll the DNS server, you go to the DNS, go to the sidebar, select the DNS menu. Under the DNS menu, you have the submenu server, and you will be able to see all the server now. Currently, there is no DNS server. See? So for you to enroll a new one, you're going to click on the add button, standard. You click on the add button, and you can pick the type of DNS server. You see? Yeah, in this example, you're going to pick efficient IP because the DNS server is an efficient IP solid server. Fine. So once you select efficient IP, right, then you will be able to give a name, right? You will be able to give a name. Oh, now one thing about the name is important. Oh, so give a proper name, because this name, oh, okay, this host name, this FQDN, okay, will be used as a name server, will be used in the SOA record when you create any zone under the DNS server. So if you go to the DNS server to create any zone, they need the NS record, right? So the NS record will be using the DNS server name. Are you clear with that? So make sure you enter the name correctly. Like, name server 1.un.org. Okay? Yeah. Then after that, the IP address of the remote DNS server, the management IP address of the remote DNS server. See? So that the management server know how to reach the remote DNS server. Are you clear with that? Right? And one more thing, you might need to go to the config enrollment parameter. See? And you need to include the admin password. By default, they use admin, and the default password is admin. By default, they use the admin password. But if you have changed, because most of the time in production, the admin password is already changed. It won't be the default. So over here, you need to enter the admin, and you need to enter the new password that you have set. Okay, can follow? Yeah. So in your lab, if you are using your lab, if you did change the admin password, make sure you use the new password of the admin. Okay? Yeah. And that's all. You click on OK. So once you click on OK, you will see the DNS server is added. Oh, and you will see it might take a while where you can see the synchronization is busy. It might take a few seconds. Oh, before it becomes synchronized and okay. It might take a few seconds. Now, why? Why it take a few seconds? When you enroll the DNS server, right? The management server will synchronize the config file on the remote DNS server. So they will read the config file of the remote DNS server and synchronize it to the management database. So your existing config will still be maintained on the DNS server. So when I enroll the DNS server to the management server, the existing config is read from the remote DNS server into the management database of the management server. That's why you can see they are busy synchronizing. Right? You will not lose your DNS config when you add it into the management server. You will not, because they read your config and update the management database. So now in the management interface, you will be able to see all the configuration, and you can continue your administration from the web interface now. Okay, any questions? Are you clear? Okay, good. So that's why it takes a few seconds. Because they need to read from the config file. Now, using Solid Server Management Server, using the management server, right? You will be able to manage different vendor DNS server. Not only Solid Server DNS, but you can manage the DNS service. Give me a minute. Okay, sorry. Yeah, let's come back. Now, you will be able to use the management server to manage the DNS service that is in the public cloud. Right? So you can manage Route 53, Yeah, you can manage Azure DNS server. Okay, yeah. Then of course, you will be able to manage Microsoft DNS server the generic bind DNS server that is on a Linux server, or okay, we will talk about this efficient IP DNS packet, right? Yeah. Okay, but of course, if you are using Solid Server to manage other vendor DNS service, there are some limitation. There are some limitation. You have to you can find out what are the limitations from the user guide. Oh, yeah. Okay, good. So here is to give you more detail. Okay, now using Solid Server to manage Microsoft DNS server remotely, you need to have the multi-vendor service management license. So you can see, as long as you see this, MVSM, all this, yeah, basically this means you need license. Okay, yeah. So you can, but take note, right? There are some supported operation. See that? Okay, and yeah, it's pretty good. They don't really have a lot of restriction. Fine. But if you are using Solid Server to manage the generic DNS engine, those normally these are on the Linux server. Yeah, then you can see there are some restriction. So you cannot configure the server, you cannot configure the zone. You can only configure the resource record from the management server. Okay, yeah. So now, what is this efficient IP bind packet? Now, if you want to use efficient IP bind engine, you can download the efficient IP bind packet from efficient IP support, and then you can install it into your own Linux server. So if you use efficient IP bind engine and install into your own Linux server like Debian, CentOS, Red Hat, right? Then you will be able to use it as a DNS server, and you can manage it from the centralized management server. Okay, and without any restriction, no restriction. So you can deploy your own solid efficient IP bind engine. You download this packet from efficient IP support site. Okay, right? Okay, you can manage Route 53, you can manage Microsoft Azure. Again, please look at the limitation. Is it okay? Right, because some of the feature, for example, in Route 53, right? Yeah, some of the features are not compatible with the management database. So if those features are not compatible with the management database, you can't actually manage them. Okay, yeah. Fine. So now, okay, let's look at the smart architecture. Oh, so on the smart architecture, in Solid Server, in Efficient IP Solid Server, you have five predefined smart architecture for DNS. Right? So here is the 5 predefined smart architecture. Master slave. So normally it's very common, right? Master slave. So you have one, you have at least one master, and then you're going to have multiple slaves. Is okay, right? So that whatever zone and resource record you have on the master, it will be transfer. It will be zone transfer to the slave. So your zone and the resource record, right? You will have a replica, right? Yeah. On the slave. So in case you lost the master, the slave can be used to serve the query. See, so this is something like the high availability. Understand that, right? Using master-slave architecture. So this is one of the very common architecture used for managing multiple DNS server, right? Now, you can also have a multi-master. Okay, now I forgot to mention, the main difference between master and slave role. The changes must go to the master. So when you want to create a zone, you have to go to the master to create a zone. When you want to update the data resource record in the zone, you have to go to the master. So any changes from the master will be propagated, will be zone transfer propagated to the slave, right? So the slave are read only. The master can be write, can be read and write. Understand? Okay. Now you also have an architecture that is multi-master. So maintain multi-master, you can go to any master to make changes, and the changes will be synchronized among all the masters. So that is the main difference. Now, but one thing you do have to know, if you are using multi-master, this is efficient IP. The synchronization, right? The replication of the changes among all the master is not using DNS traffic. It's not. Right? It's a proprietary solid server. So all these server must be solid server. Are you clear with that? Can follow? Yeah. Okay, so you can have a multi-master architecture. You might use master-slave for your public DNS. You might use multi-master for your internal recursive server, recursive DNS server. Okay. Yeah. Another architecture that you can use that is like master and slave is actually the stele. Okay. So if you look into a stele basically is a master-slave architecture. It's actually, see, so you have one master and you can have slave. So a stele is actually a master-slave architecture. The only difference is the original master is not advertised. So they do not advertise they do not advertise the master. Okay, they do not advertise the original master as the master. Right? So the NS record is not the master hostname. The NS record for the zone is not the master hostname. The NS record of the zone is actually one of the slave hostname. So that is what they call the pseudo master. So one of the slave is announced as the master. So the NS record of the zone will be the slave hostname. So this is like decoy. I'm cheating you, right? I don't tell you who is my master. I tell you one of the slave is a master. So when the attacker want to attack the zone, when they query the NS record, they will get the NS record, which is the slave. See? And when they go to the slave, they cannot perform any update. Understand? Okay? Yeah. So it's a master and slave architecture, just that when the NS record of the zone is actually the slave name. It's actually the slave host name. Understand? Yeah. So that is a stele. Again, normally we use it for the public, right? Yeah. So to avoid, actually to avoid the attack from the public, attack your public website, public DNS server. Okay. Now, if you only have one DNS server and you want to use a smart architecture, because you might expand it in the future, you can use a single server architecture, and in a single server architecture, you can only have one server. Right? In the future, if you want to add more server, right, you can change the template. You can change it. For example, I will be able to change from a single server architecture to a stele architecture in the future. Then I can add more server as the member. Right? Yeah. Okay, good. Now, if you are using third-party load balancer, if you are using third-party load balancer to hide your DNS server at the back end, then you can use the farm architecture. So you can see here, this load balancer is not a solid server. This is a third party. Any load balancer you use in the market. This load balancer, right, will absorb all your DNS traffic. See that? So all the DNS traffic go to the load balancer. The load balancer will send the traffic to the backend DNS server. You see? So this is the DNS server managed by you from the management server. But the front-end load balancer is a separate product. So the DNS traffic go to the load balancer, right, which is nothing to do with Solid Server, right? And the load balancer will send the traffic to the Solid Server DNS. So whatever zone you create in the DNS server now, the zone name server is actually the load balancer. Isn't it? Yeah. Any traffic must go to the load balancer, not directly to the DNS server. See? Yeah. So this is a farm architecture for that. Most people might do that because like the load balancer might be your fencing, your security fencing. So all traffic go to the load balancer to absorb all the traffic, right? Before it will be disseminated to the backend DNS server. So whatever zone in your DNS, right? The NS record will be the load balancer, not the DNS server. Okay, understand? Yeah. So this is for the farm architecture. So you have 5 architecture to choose if you want to use the smart. Okay, you pick one. So in this example, you already enroll 2 DNS server. You already enroll. So you can see before you create the smart architecture. Okay, now if you're going to use a smart architecture, you also need to enroll the name server first. So you can see the name server are enrolled into the management server. Now you're going to add the smart architecture. So you go to add, then you select smart. Once you select the smart, you pick the architecture you want and give a host name. Okay, now one recommendation, one strongly recommended name for the smart, please use the keyword smart so that you know that this is a template. This is not the DNS server that you are managing. So, right? So when you give a name to the smart architecture template, please use the word smart. So that's why you see smart ns.un. So when you look at this name in the web interface, you know that, okay, this is the template. Is it okay? Right? Yeah. And then you choose your architecture. See? So they're choosing master slave. So when you choose the master slave, then you click on next, right? Yeah. So now you're going to select the name server and assign them to the appropriate role. So you select the name server and you can add it as a master, and you select the name server and you can add it as a slave. So this is how you assign the role. Pick the NS server, pick the name server, which is the DNS, and assign it based on that role. Once you have assigned the role, click on next. Okay? Yeah? Okay, once you click on next, nothing else, correct? You can click on OK. So once you click on OK, you will see now you have the smart architecture, right? Yeah, and you have 2 members inside. Now, one of the member is a master and one of the member is a slave. So the smart architecture have 2 members and the role of the member. Can you read that? Very easy, right? And they, yeah. Clear with this? Now, one important thing to know look at this member. Look at the member of the smart architecture. Do you see there is a lock? The lock means read only. You cannot when you add the DNS server into the smart, the configuration should not be performed on the member. The configuration should be performed on the smart. So the member are read only. Like for example, if you want to create a zone, if you want to edit the resource record, you have to go to the smart to do it. So what you do on the smart, whatever zone you create, whatever zone you change, whatever resource record you add, whatever resource you call you modify, right? In the smart template, it will be automatically synchronized to all the members. So that's why you see there's a padlock. Read only.
Okay.
But one thing,
Yes.
some of the server configuration, must be done at the member. So there's an exceptional. There's an exceptional thing. Some of the server setting can be set at the server level. Okay, and we will talk about that. Are you clear? Right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Now, if you do not want to see the member, because sometimes it's very confusing. There are two, because they're member and also they are the smart architecture. So you might select wrongly and go and do configuration. So if you want to avoid selecting the member when you're doing your configuration, click on the toggle button. Click on this. So the toggle button will hide the member. So when you hide the member, you will always click on the smart to do your configuration. See, so you won't make unnecessary, I wouldn't say unnecessary error, but you wouldn't waste unnecessary time, and then you have to go back to the smart and do it on the smart. Okay, right? Yeah. So take note of that. Okay, good. Now this is a very this is to highlight what we have talked about yesterday. Now, when you add a DNS server as a member of the smart architecture, so it means that when you add member, right? When you add new member to the smart architecture, right? The existing configuration of the member, of the new member, the existing DNS configuration of the new member will be replaced, will be erased and replaced by the smart configuration. So please take note of that. Oh, and you know that already emphasized many times. Oh, now, but if you remove member, if you remove a member from the smart architecture, the configuration maintained. Right? So when you remove the member, the DNS server will still be functional, but just that standalone by itself. Okay, that right? And it still will be in production. It still will be in production. It still serve DNS traffic. Okay, right? Yeah. So, okay, now this is to give you an example about the solid server architecture. Solid server. So when you use solid server for your DNS, so you're using solid server solution for your DNS service. Now you normally will have two management server. So that's why you see two management server. Management server 1, which is the master. Management server 2, which is a hot standby. So you have high availability for the management server. Because of the management database, all your configuration is in the management database. Imagine you lost the management server. You lost the configuration database. Then there's no way you can manage anymore. So that's why the management, for the management solid server, you will have a hot standby. So you can create a hot standby. They automatically synchronize the management database. So the management database will be synchronized from the master to the hot standby automatically. So you need to set it up. How to set it up, we will talk about it on the last day. Okay, so creating management server high availability, we will talk about on the last day. So you will have two management server, solid server, right? Now you will have two authoritative public DNS server. So this will be at least two, right? Authoritative DNS server, master and slave. So these are the public server that hosts your public zone. Your public zone. Is okay? So you create your own public zone, and all the public query for your zone, okay, will come to your public authoritative server. So this will be a smart architecture master slave. So you have a smart architecture master slave for your public DNS server, right? Then for your internal, normally for the internal DNS server, for the internal recursive service. So all your internal client will send the DNS traffic to your internal DNS server. See, so that the internal DNS query can be resolved by the internal DNS server. See, so you will have your internal caching DNS server. So they do not, normally they don't have any zone, no zone. You normally will only set forwarder. Is okay? Because they are caching only. So any query sent to the caching DNS server, the DNS server cannot resolve it. The DNS server will forward it to the forwarder. So the forwarder will try to resolve. So once the forwarder return the response, the caching server will cache the response and serve the response to the client. So you should have an internal caching server. Another word we call this a recursive server. Recursive caching server. Okay? Yeah. You can have a smart architecture for that. Or let's say multi-master. Because they don't host any zone and they are used internally. So you can have an internal traffic for synchronizing them. Not using port 53, not using port. The synchronization among the master in the multi-master architecture is not using port 53. Okay? Fine. Any question?
Excuse me, sir. I will ask some question on smart architecture. When we have add some DNS server on smart architecture, but the synchronized status is locked. Sorry. The synchronized status is locked synchronization. What happened with in screen, we can see that the synchronized status is busy. It means that the DNS server is synchronization with smart architecture, right? But when we add the DNS server, the synchronized status is locked synchronization. What's wrong or what's happened with the synchronization? Thank you, sir.
Sorry, okay. Before that, you are saying that when you add the DNS server to the smart architecture, right? So
yes.
The synchronization, look at my screen, the synchronization is busy.
Yes.
And then the status is what?
But the synchronization is locked. The status is okay, but the synchronization status is locked. Synchronization locked.
Is it LOCK?
Pardon me, sir?
Yeah, I mean you mean lock is LOCK, right? Is lock.
Yeah, LOCKED synchronization.
So your synchronization is something like, if you see here, it's not synchronized, it's locked.
Yes, something like that. The synchronization is locked.
Status is okay.
The status is okay.
Do you have any problem managing them from a smart? Is it functional? Is the DNS server working?
Yes.
The DNS is working.
Okay, so just that the synchronization is locked. Is it you? Are you using Solid Server or are you using other vendor?
We are using Solid Server.
So all the DNS server are Solid Server.
Yes, the DNS server are efficient IP Solid Server.
Okay, and the version is bind. Is the version bind or unbound or what? Or NDS? Oh, sorry, NSD.
Lain.
What about the version?
The version, the bind version, the engine is using bind, but wait a moment.
Tuh ini apa? Temporary file-nya penuh.
But we have noticed that the centralized management server using the Solid Server version is higher than the DNS, the DNS member. The Solid Server, the centralized management using 7.3.3 firmware version, and the DNS server using 7.1.3 version.
Okay, yeah. So your management server is a higher version, isn't it? And then your DNS server is actually the lower version.
Yes, sir, something like that. The
Okay.
management server version is higher than the DNS member.
So those are the Solid Server, right? Those are the Solid Server version. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would say it's recommended you make them the same. If not, you will see this type of thing. Yes. So So because when you upgrade, you must make sure all your DNS, all your Solid Server should have the same version. You already upgraded your management server, isn't it? Yeah. Now you should be able to upgrade your remote server. You can upgrade them from the centralized management server. Yeah.
So the recommended solution is the DNS server must be same version with management server, right?
Yes. Because you need to administer from the management server. So some of the information might not be, because of version different, some of the information might not be synchronized because of different version. Yeah. So it's strongly recommended. It will work, but if you keep upgrading your centralized server, management server, one day you might encounter problem. Right? It might work now, but if you keep upgrading to a newer version on the management server, then your DNS server is lagging behind. And then it might have some incompatible because of version different. Yeah. Right? So yeah. So we will talk about the upgrading. It's strongly recommended you make it the same version for the management. Is there any reason you don't want to upgrade the member? Is there any reason?
I think it's enough answer, sir. Maybe we can try to upgrade the DNS member server for the solution the issue of locked administration. Thank you, Mr. Tan,
Okay,
for
okay,
your answer.
welcome. Okay, now the next thing that you're going to do is the lab. Okay, so please work on the lab. It's a very short lab because you just have to add the smart architecture, right? So I believe you can just do it in 10 minutes time. Okay, so we're going to actually start again at my time 11:15, okay, which is Jakarta 10:15. Okay,